Japanese Tales, The Flying Storehouse. Once a monk from a remote part of Japan went to get properly ordained at Todajai in Nara. Afterwards, he decided to stay on rather than return to his primitive hinterland, and prayed to the great Buddha of Todajai to help him choose where to live. At that moment, he noticed Mount Shigi looming in the distance toward the southwest. He went and settled there, built a very small chapel, and took up the ascetic life. Soon, a fine little image of Bishamon materialized for his very modest altar. The monk's begging bowl would fly down every day for alms to a rich man who lived below the mountain, and every day the rich man would fill it. But one day, the rich man happened to be working in his big storehouse when the begging bowl arrived. "Bother that greedy bowl," he muttered, and instead of filling it, tossed it into a corner. The bowl continued to wait patiently, but eventually the man tidied up and left, locking the storehouse door behind him. He had forgotten all about the small bowl. The storehouse then began to tremble and to shake, much to the household's amazement, till it shook itself loose and hovered, vibrating, a foot off the ground. Of course, the rich man realized. Of course, it must be that small bowl. I left it in there. Meanwhile, the bowl squeezed its way out, slid itself under the storehouse, and carried it off 100 feet up into the air. There was an uproar below. The rich man could only follow to see where his storehouse would go, and everyone else trooped in confusion after him. The storehouse then flew to the top of the mountain and came down with a thud next to the monk's hut. The rich man was certainly awed, but he still felt he should say something. He reminded the monk how faithfully he normally filled the bowl, and explained how today he just happened to have it shut thoughtlessly in the storehouse. He ended with a plea for the return of his property. "This is all very, very strange," the monk replied, "but now the storehouse is here, and I don't see how I can give it back. I have nothing like it myself, and I can certainly use it, but you're welcome to the contents." "How am I going to get all that rice back down the mountain? There are over 1,000 sacks in there." "Oh, that's easy," said the monk. "I'll do that for you." The monk had a sack loaded onto the bowl, then sent the bowl flying into the air. All the other sacks followed after it, like a flock of geese. "Wait," cried the rich man. "Don't return them all. Keep a couple hundred for yourself." The monk refused, on the grounds that he would not know what to do with so much rice. "Well, then keep a couple of dozen sacks anyway," the rich man pleaded. "As much as you can use. They're yours." The monk said this was still far too much, and refused again. Every single sack arrived, in good order, back at the rich man's house, and the monk's fame began to spread far and wide. About that time, Emperor Dago happened to become very ill. All sorts of prayers and rites tried on his behalf brought him no relief. Finally, an official thought of the story of the holy man of Mount Shigi. "He never does come down from his mountain at all," the officer reported, "but he was such extraordinary powers. You see, he can have his begging bowl fly down by itself to get him food. So he has what he needs without going anywhere. If you summon him, your majesty, I will think that you will find he has the power to cure you." The emperor agreed, and sent for the holy man. The messenger was awed, too, when he delivered the imperial summons. The monk just asked what his majesty wanted for him, and gave no sign of moving himself. The messenger explained that the emperor was ill, and that his prayers were required. "Oh, I don't have to go to him, the monk said. I can heal him perfectly well from here. But if you do, how will he know you're the one he has to thank? What difference does it make whether or not he knows who cured him? As long as he's cured, that's all that matters. Still, the messenger insisted, there are a lot of people praying for him, and it would be better to be clear about whose prayers worked. All right, then, the monk sighed. I will send my spirit helper, the sword guardian. If His Majesty sees the spirit in a dream or in a vision, he knows that it came from me. The sword guardian wears a cloak woven of swords. As for me, I am going to stay here. The messenger returned to the capital and reported that the holy man had said. 3 days later, the emperor was napping in broad daylight when he saw something glitter. He realized that it must be the holy man's guardian spirit, and instantly he felt perfectly well. The court was immensely relieved and impressed with the evidence of the monk's powers. Once again, an imperial messenger made his way all the way to Mount Shigi, this time with the offer of rich rewards. Would you like to be a bishop or an archbishop? The emperor's message ran. Would you like some estate to provide income for your temple? But the monk said he had no use for titles, and protested that an estate would be far too much trouble than it was ever worth. I will just stay as I am, he declared, till the messenger finally gave up and went away. That was many, many years ago. The holy man's flying storehouse is still up in the mountain, with relics of him still inside, though now it is starting to crumble with age. Those who are blessed to obtain the smallest fragments of its wood make it into a Buddha like the monk's own, and are sure to enjoy good fortune, peace, and ease. The monk's bitumen, too, is still on that mountain, and countless pilgrims hike up there to pay homage to it there.